Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, namaskaram, namaskar, and vanakkam. Welcome to Bob's Radio 21.37 FM, and this is Bob with you. Dear listeners, dear brother, dear sister, thank you so much for joining us today on our Transformational Tuesdays, where we're going to talk about so many wonderful things and ultimately a wonderful story of transformation. Well, there are so many things that we have lined up today, but before that, let me quickly talk to my co-RJ in our virtual studio. Hi, David. How are you doing?
Hello, Bob. What's been happening? How have you been?
Well, it's been a busy day like every other office day. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have had the same experience. Well, and so what happens is, when you have these busy days, you really
Yeah.
don't get time to read. And that is one of the things that I miss these days, reading.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, tell me, what about you?
Oh, I mean, likewise, today being Transformational Tuesday, I was thinking about the transformations that has taken place in our landscape across the world. And one word that quickly comes into our mind when we think about transformation, it's revival. And when we think about revival, we stand on the shoulders of so many amazing people in the world. For example, when we take the example of, for example, Billy Graham, could you believe that he could sell out entire stadiums ahead of his speech? And the thing is that even celebrities found this so difficult.
Yeah. Absolutely. He was one of the greatest leaders of that generation, and indeed he inspired revival. Now that brings to
Absolutely.
my mind a story that I heard the other day on WhatsApp, and maybe David, that is something that maybe we can share with our listeners. Now the story goes like this. There was a professor in one of the universities in England, and he was talking about revival. In fact, it was a
Okay.
seminary, and he told his students, let's visit the house of John Wesley and Charles Wesley, one of the great Reformation and revival leaders that lived in England at one time. In fact, if you know church history, they have influenced church history, the landscape, so much that it's
Yep.
called after Wesley and before
Oh,
Wesley.
yep, yep.
That's the
That's so
influence that they've
true.
had. Now the professor took the students on a bus, took them to the home of John Wesley, and he took them around the house, showed them the very place that this young man was born and brought up. His mother was a woman of prayer. That's another story. Now he took them to his bedroom, and as they were watching and looking at things around there, one of the students, he pointed to a rug beside the bed and said, "Why is this? Why are there two patches, two grooves, two holes on the carpet?" The professor said, that's a good question, because that is in fact the place where John Wesley used to kneel for hours and hours and
Wow.
pray to God for a revival. So he had
Wow.
spent so many hours that in fact created those grooves in the carpet because of kneeling for so many hours. And then, as the professor was saying this, they were stunned. The students were listening to this, and after visiting the house, they got back into the bus to go home. Now the professor counted out the
Hmm.
students, and one
Okay.
person was missing. So
Oh,
he
okay.
went back into the house and he's like, okay, where is that one person? He's searching for the
Yeah.
student. He went all over the house, finally went into that bedroom, John Wesley's bedroom, and there he found a student right there in the same place where those grooves were, kneeling in exactly the same spot.
Wow.
Closing his eyes and crying out to God and saying, Lord, do it again. He was asking
Wow.
for revival, and he was saying, Lord, do it again. And you know who that student was?
No.
That was Billy Graham. In
Wow.
fact,
I
that is a
did not.
story.
Uh-huh. I
That
didn't
is a
see that
story.
coming. That was an
Yeah.
absolute plot twist at the end.
Well,
And you know what?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that that professor will never forget that incident. And you know what?
Absolutely.
I truly believe that just like John Wesley and Billy Graham, if we have someone earnestly praying that same question even today, Lord, will you do it again? Then I'm sure that we will be seeing some absolutely amazing people being raised by God again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lord, will you do it again? Dear listeners, let us also be on our knees and ask God to do it again, and He will surely send His revival. Well, with that spirit, let's go to our first song for today, and it's a wonderful Tamil song, Nadha Nadha.
Nada, nada, nada. இந்த ஜீவியமே வெறும் மாயையோ, இது சஞ்சலம் சஞ்சலம் நிறைந்ததோ. நாதா, நாதா, நாதா. இந்த ஜீவியமே வெறும் மாயையோ, இது சஞ்சலம் சஞ்சலம் நிறைந்ததோ. நாதா, நாதா, நாதா. காரிருள் சூழும் நேரமதில் என் கரம் பிடித்தென்னை நடத்திய நாதன், மாறாவின் மதுரமாம் இருளில் வெளிச்சமாம் ஆதரவே என் தேற்றரவாளனே. உன் கிருபையின்றி யாதொன்றுமியலே, வனாந்திர பாதையில் அருயிர் நாதா. உம் கிருபையின்றி யாதொன்றுமியலே, வனாந்திர பாதையில் அருயிர் நாதா. நாதா, நாதா. இந்த ஜீவியமே வெறும் மாயையோ, இது சஞ்சலம் சஞ்சலம் நிறைந்ததோ. நாதா, நாதா, நாதா. நிந்தைகள் பழிகள் பெருகிடும் போது வாக்கு தத்தம் தந்து நடத்திடும் நாதன், என் கண்மலையே, என் அடைக்கலமே, தகர்ந்த என் ஜீவியம் அடைந்த என் பரனே. நீரலால் ஆசை பூவினில்லை, உம்மில் நான் சாருவேன் என்றென்றும் நாதா. நீரலால் ஆசை பூவினில்லை, உம்மில் நான் சாருவேன் என்றென்றும் நாதா. நாதா, நாதா. இந்த ஜீவியமே வெறும் மாயையோ, இது சஞ்சலம் சஞ்சலம் நிறைந்ததோ. நாதா, நாதா, நாதா.
Wow, that was an absolute masterpiece.
Absolute masterpiece, yes. And do you know, David, who sang that?
That sounds like a Premji kind of a song.
Yes, it is. It is indeed Premji Ebenezer, the wonderful Tamil singer. Wouldn't it be nice if we had Premji on our radio?
That would be an absolute pleasure. I think
It would
we
be.
should really
It
look
would
forward
be.
to that.
Yeah, it would be nice if we can have him. Well, let's go to our next segment. Well, we've got our kids today, so let's see what our kids have for us today.
Hey Carly and Carlos, how are you all doing?
Fine.
So what are we doing today?
No idea.
Alright, then maybe I'll read you a book. Is that okay?
Yes. Sure.
Okay, so this book is called You Are Special by Max Lucado. It's about a group of small wooden people called the Wemmicks. Okay, each of the Wemmick has a unique, specific personality and look. And I want you all to read the characters when they come in. Is that good enough?
Yes.
Alright, here goes. The Wemmicks were small wooden people carved by a woodworker named Eli. Each Wemmick was different. Some had big noses, others had large eyes, some were tall and others were short. Each Wemmick had a box of golden star stickers and grey dot stickers. The wooden people went around the village sticking stars or dots on one another. The pretty ones got stars, and the Wemmicks with rough wood or chipped paint got dots. The talented ones got stars too. Some could jump over tall boxes or sing pretty songs, while others who could not do much, they got dots. Punchinello was one of these. He tried to jump high like the others, but he always fell. So the Wemmicks would give him dots. When he tried to explain why he fell, he would say something silly, so the Wemmicks would give him more dots. He deserves lots of dots, the wooden people would say. After a while, Punchinello believed them.
I guess I'm not a good Wemmick.
He decided, so he stayed inside most of the time. When he did go outside, he hung around other Wemmicks who had lots of dots. That made him feel better. One day he met a different kind of Wemmick named Lucia. She had no dots or stars. The Wemmicks admired Lucia for having no dots, so they could give her a star. But that would fall off. Others gave her a dot for not having stars. That wouldn't stay either.
That's the way I want to be.
Thought Punchinello. So he asked Lucia how she did it.
It's easy. Every day I go visit Eli the woodcarver. Why? You'll find out if you go see him.
Then Lucia turned and skipped away.
But will he want to see me?
Punchinello wondered. Later at home, he sat and watched the wooden people giving each other stars and dots.
It's not right.
He muttered to himself, and he decided to go see Eli. Punchinello walked up the narrow path and stepped into Eli's shop. His eyes grew big. The stool was as tall as he was. He had to stretch on tippy-toe to see the top of the workbench. Punchinello swallowed hard.
I'm not staying here.
Then he heard his name.
Punchinello?
The voice was deep and strong.
How good to see you. Come, let me have a look at you.
You know my name?
Of course, I made you.
Eli picked him up and set him on the bench.
Looks like you've been given some bad marks,
Said the maker.
I didn't mean to, Eli. I really tried hard.
Punchinello, I don't care what the other Wemmicks think.
You don't?
No, you shouldn't either. What they think doesn't matter. All that matters is what I think, and I think you're pretty special.
Me? Special? Why? I'm not very talented and my paint is peeling. Why do I matter to you?
Because you're mine. That's why you matter to me.
Every day I've been hoping you'd come.
I came because I met Lucia.
Why don't the stickers stay on her?
Because she has decided that what I think is more important than what others think. The stickers only stick if you let them.
What?
The stickers only stick if they matter to you. The more you trust my love, the less you care about their stickers.
I'm not sure I understand.
You will, but it will take some time. For now, come to see me every day and let me remind you how much I care.
Eli lifted Panjanilo off the bench and set him on the ground.
Remember, you are special because I made you and I don't make mistakes.
Panjanilo didn't stop, but in his heart he thought,
I think he really means it.
and when he did, a dot fell to the ground. The end. So, guys, do you know whom Eli resembles?
Yes, our Creator, God.
Exactly. And what he thinks of us is all that matters, and what others think of us doesn't matter or they don't stick. Did you like the story?
Yes, Liz. This is Bob's Radio. Keep bobbing along. Bye.
Oh, thank you, kids. What matters is what our Creator thinks of us, and nothing else matters.
Absolutely.
Well, David, how was that segment?
Well, Bob, I think you have hired some absolutely amazing voice actors. They come with the whole package too, they're modulating their voice, changing the voice. It's the whole
Praise
package.
God. Well, it's our kids and they do a great job. I'm also told by RJ Liz that we have this book available on Amazon. If parents, if you want to buy it, it's available. It's called You Are Special and written by Max Lucado. Well, that was good. Thank you, kids, for that. Well, let's go to our sound bites and hear what our sister Mary Lijish has for us today.
Hi, dear listeners. This is Bob's Radio. Keep bobbing along. Today, I'm talking about a free gift in almost all's life. You know what? Worry. Worry about kids, worry about future, worry about job, worry about this and that which we even don't know, or about whom we even haven't seen or heard. We women, weaker vessels, are better gifted with this special gift. I know many of you can relate to that and not deny. We are Martha's real true sisters. But what does Bible say about? Bible says, Jesus says, do not worry about anything, do not be anxious. Worry doesn't help at all. It can only leak our faith, lose our time, make us weaker. So stop worrying, plan and pray. God is alive, He is in control, He is your Father. Rest in Him, trust in Him. Don't worry about world coming to an end today. It's already tomorrow in Australia. So dear listeners, keep bobbing along. God bless you. Bye-bye. Take care.
It's already tomorrow in Australia, so why worry about today, David?
Wow, that's an amazing end line over there. Quite different.
Right. Well, let's go to our second song, again from a wonderful Tamil singer, Premji Ebenezer Kalvari Mamalayoram.
சிலுவை தன் தோழதிலே சிதறும் தன் வேர்வையிலே சிலுவை தன் தோழதிலே சிதறும் தன் வேர்வையிலே சிறுமை அடைந்தவராய் நிந்தனை பல சகித்தார் சிறுமை அடைந்தவராய் நிந்தனை பல சகித்தார் நிந்தனை நமக்காய் சகித்தார் கல்வாரி மாமலையோரம் கொடுங்கோர காட்சி கண்ணில் நீர் வழிந்திடுதே இந்த மீட்பர் இயேசுவதோ எந்த மீட்பர் இயேசுவதோ கல்வாரி மாமலையோரம் கொடுங்கோர காட்சி கண்ணில் நீர் வழிந்திடுவே இந்த மீட்பர் இயேசுவதோ எந்த மீட்பர் இயேசுவதோ எந்த மீட்பர் இயேசுவதோ
Wow, once again, another beautiful Tamil song from that wonderful gospel singer and evangelist Premji Ebenezer. Well, David, that is our surprise. We have Premji Ebenezer joining us live on Bob's Radio on Thursday,
wow.
on our Talking Thursdays. Yes.
Oh wow,
Well,
that's quite the news.
well, dear listeners, brothers and sisters, we indeed have Premji Ebenezer live on Bob's Radio on the 9th of September, which is the coming Thursday on our Talking Thursdays. Oh, that was great, David. Now let's come to the talk show of our radio. And indeed, we have a very, very special person with us. And it gives me the joy, greatest joy, to introduce him to all our listeners today. Well, we have with us today Saji Matthews. Let me give you his bio. Saji Matthews was born in 1977 in a jungle village called Shihawa, approximately 200 kilometers from Raipur, Chhattisgarh, India. His parents were originally from Kerala, where then they were working for the Chhattisgarh government in this remote village called Shihawa. Later, his parents were transferred to a place which was further inside the jungle. Saji Matthews did his schooling at Belargam village, which is approximately 270 kilometers from Raipur. In fact, he had to walk approximately 3 kilometers every day to reach his school. Now, after finishing his school, Saji Matthews went to Kerala for further studies. He graduated from the MG University and got his first break when he got a job in an MNC in Chennai, Tamil Nadu. He says it was very difficult for a village boy like me to compete with others there, but my determination and confidence never let me down. Now, he had an opportunity to select his base. He could choose either Singapore or Finland. Wonderful times. But here is where the story takes a turn. Now, in his words, he says, tough times never last, but tough people do. How true is this for Mr. Saji Matthews? Saji Matthews is an energetic and innovative young man who lost his vision in both eyes at the age of 23 due to unforeseen circumstances. In fact, it took just 15 minutes for complete loss of sight in both eyes due to retinal detachment. At that time, he was a graduate in computer applications, and in spite of his visual disability, he successfully attained a postgraduate diploma in computer applications and went on to attain a master's degree in business administration also. He now works as an officer in an organization, which is a Government of India organization, the Food Corporation of India, and he works as the assistant manager there. After completing his graduate studies in computer application, he went on to work for multinational software company in Chennai, and that is when he lost his vision. But later on, he received training in screen reading software, after which he was ready to take his life to a new horizon. We are going to hear that story and so much more today from our brother Saji Matthews. Saji Matthews is married to Melba, a beautiful young woman. He says, I wanted to have a girl who could know and understand me and my life. He adds that Melba is the kind of girl he always dreamt about. Now, Melba's sister also had an eventful life. She had a fire accident in her childhood. This, amongst other things, has given her a never give up attitude. Today, Saji and Melba have a daughter, Abigail, and a son, Jeremiah. Saji Matthews is a motivational and inspirational speaker. He's a disability expert. He works on many platforms as a disability expert, and he vocalizes loudly for the rights of differently abled people. He's also a powerful Christian speaker and a counselor. Well, it is such a great privilege to have Brother Saji Matthews with us today. Let's bring Brother Saji Matthews on air.
Bob's Radio 21.37. Keep bobbing along.
Brother Saji Matthews, thank you so much for coming today on Bob's Radio. I love you for that.
Thank you so much, Bob. It's my delight to be here. Thank you
Well,
so
we are so privileged to have you with us, a man of multi talents and a great inspiration and a motivation to a whole generation of people. Now, let me come to the first question that I would like to ask. Now, Brother Saji Matthews, let us start with the present before we go to the past. Can you share with our listeners the current activities that you're involved in and what is your greatest passion?
Well, by profession, as you had mentioned, I'm a officer in government organization. I'm a assistant general manager for Food Corporation of India, presently posted at Trivandrum, and taking care of my administrative responsibility. By passion, I'm a corporate speaker and a life coach. My profession enables me to provide my bread and butter along with my family, and my passion helps me to go on fulfilling the call. When I say my call, let me make it very clear. Let me make it very clear, because listeners should understand that very clearly, that every one of us have been given call. I have a story from my life, and this enables me to reach to the top executives of corporate arena, politicians, academicians, as bureaucrats, and so on and so forth. That helps me not only tell my story, but also tell the love of God. So it's always a place where no one can object when I tell my story along with the love of God. So that gives me opportunity to evangelize to the so-called elite and unreached crowd.
Wow.
Okay.
So, we this is such an amazing story for us to hear, and I'm sure that when having gone through all these public speaking events and so many one-on-one interactions, can you tell us some unforgettable experiences that you had encountered through your corporate journey?
Well, David, there are stories. Whenever I come from, I used to come from, before COVID, I mean, so whenever I used to come from each event, I always had a bunch of stories where I used to share with my family. But to point out one, let me just recall. I was having a event there in Hyderabad where I had to speak to a top executive on leadership.
Okay.
I was supposed to take a couple of sessions with a final challenging session, and I was exhausted after the event. Then one of my organizer comes and tells me that there is a vice president of a company. He wants to have a dinner with you, which I basically do not, because after you are exhausted, then there leaves no energy to just go for another dinner. Each dinner comes with another responsibility. There is no free dinner. So I was not very keen, but he went back and he comes back again saying that he really wants to have a time with you. So I could realize the sense of urgency, and I reluctantly accepted the invitation. He comes and picks me, and we both travel to the restaurant, picking his wife. To summarize the story, it goes like this. The gentleman was one of a vice president in a very renowned multinational company, and his wife was another CFO of another multinational company. The problem with both of them were they were, though living in under a same roof, but had almost no relationship with each other at all. They basically competed with each other. They were proving something which they themselves did not know, and they both had attempted almost 2 to twice or thrice uh, suicide, but that had gone in vain. So situation was so grim, so difficult to handle. Uh, I had no idea how to handle such couples. I prayed and I just said, "See, I have got something which my favorite book enables me to speak," and I communicated the stories, the values of my faith, and then I told them it would be good if you both could just go for a couple of days vacation. They both agreed, and I once again wanted them to go without mobile or laptop or any of thing which may distract their time with each other. And I had very strictly told them that they should go as someone who were meeting first time or dating first time, or even a honeymoon kind of an experience. They went for weeks holiday, and when they returned, they said that they were so fresh, and they had come to a point where they wanted to just start afresh. You won't believe, now they are parents of a child, and she has given up her job, giving the values for her family life. So this is how the corporate world works, where they really need someone to just mentor or guide, or you may call any nomenclature, whatever you want to, for bringing them up. Yeah.
I'm sure there are so many other stories that you'd have, yeah, so many experiences, meeting with people, yeah. It's and I'm sure that those listeners, they would have found your story to be truly inspirational indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now, Brother Saji Matthews, let me ask this question: how did you come to this point in your life, and can you share with us your story and where it all began?
Well, Bob, my life, as you had given as introduction, started from Chhattisgarh, but I had come to a point where I just wanted to launch my career in Chennai. It was the first day of my job, and I had received the offering letters from my company. My company wanted to have my base either in Singapore or in Helsinki, as you mentioned before. But I was confused because two different continents, two different people, two different food and culture, so on and so forth. So I told my HR head that if they could give me a day's time so that I could just consult with my friends, my family, and my church elders to make a decision which way to go, because I was absolutely clueless. So they agreed, and with that euphoria, I came out of my office in the evening, wanted to go home with that excitement, reached the lift and wanted to press the lift button to go to the ground floor. There I realized that my finger was not going to the right spot. I thought to myself it may be due to the humidity in Chennai, or some climatical or some issues. I came to the ground floor to the staircase, and there I realized that it was not the humidity or any other issue, but it was purely my sight which was getting blurred. I thought to myself that I am in a city which has one of the best hospital in the world for the eyes. So I'll go there, get my eyes checked, and come back and find the papers next day. Having those things in mind, I started walking to my bus stop. It was just 10 minutes away from my office. Again, to my surprise, I started losing my sight every step I took further. By the time I reached the bus stop, I hardly could see the bus boards.
Ooh.
Somehow I reached the hospital. Doctors put me in emergency. They put few drops in my eyes and patched my eyes, both my eyes, and requested me to come come to the hospital next day, get myself admitted. They were going to perform the surgery on my eyes. Having those patches on my eyes, I went back home, had my dinner, my shower, informed all my friends and family. Initially, they all thought that I was pranking them, but they later understood that it was not the prank, but it was something which has gone really serious. I came to my bed, and then the real struggle began. I wanted to pray, and I was literally furious with God. I was agitating because I was asking him, what was he doing when I was losing my vision? Couldn't he stop? Or why only me? So on and so forth. But there I was comforted, or to put it more specific, I was reminded with a scripture which I was reminded because a week before that day, I had spoken to a conference of young people from Romans 8:28. That one word, all things work together for those who love the Lord. That one word, all, was my topic that day. Anything in the believer's life, those who love the Lord, anything, whatever happened, that situation is included in that little word called all. So I was challenging those young people and asking them to just take it as a challenge and rely on God and see that your difficulty or distress may turn into goodness. But I didn't know that same word is going to backfire me when I had lost my vision. So that day when I was agitated, or I was furious with God, God reminded me of the same verse, Romans 8:28. And I felt as if someone asking me, don't you believe that your blindness is also included in this little word, all? I tell you, I had received the answer, Bob. I was content with the answer, and I was sure that my God is going to turn this blindness also into goodness. And I never have questioned thereafter. Next day onwards, I had my smile on my face. I was ready to face the world as a person with blindness. And since then, God has really brought me up thus far.
Praise God. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. And now I'm sure. Yes. Yeah.
And that is how I began my storytelling to the world. Because this little word, which has played the major role in my life, I was sure that this can also play and big inspiration part in many's life. Yeah.
Indeed, all things work together for good to they that love the Lord. Now, Brother Saji Matthews, can I ask you this question? I'm sure it's been an eventful life, and the Lord has been using you so powerfully around the world. Can I ask, what is this goodness that you have seen happening in your life? Or shall I ask, what has this all that you speak so eloquently about brought for you in your life?
Well, there have been a number of things which I can narrate. Great would be that I have got an amazing wife, and God has blessed me with amazing 2 children. Above all, I have been orating my story before as I said before, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the academicians, and elite, so-called elite people, because to reach to them, you need a reputation, you need a story, and God has given that story in my life without any cost, without any much effort. So it's always been a opportunity for me in the past to talk to the top industrialists in the country and narrate the story and communicate the love of God. But the most exciting or most remembered one would be when I met President Abdul Kalam when he was the President of India.
Wow, Abdul Kalam. Okay.
I have shared the dais with ministers and politicians and bureaucrats, but that was one of the event when I really was reminded that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. It so happened that in 2005 I was representing India to be in Japan for a program of United Nations. I had to travel all across Japan to sensitize the bureaucrats with the rights and methodology of person with disability in India. After I came back, I submitted a report. Usually the report goes to the ministry, goes for signature to the President House, and it goes in the dustbin. But in my case, my report went all the way to the President's table, and Abdul Kalam, being a person with so much of humility and sincerity and
Yes.
honesty, he read my report. And I had finished the report with the last statement saying this, that the methodology of India and the technology of technology of Japan, if are brought together, we can bridge the gap between the person with disability and person without disability. That one line had made an impact in his heart, and he immediately instruct his secretary to organize a seminar where I was supposed to speak. I received a letter from the President office saying that there would be a seminar which I need to speak on to the top scientists of the country, and President would be inaugurating the seminar. So usually the protocol is President would be coming, he would be lighting the lamp, and that is how the protocol goes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you must be knowing, Bob, Abdul Kalam is a person known to break the protocols.
Yes.
So I was sitting in the dais. There were 22 top scientists of the nation sitting before me, ready to hear me. And President comes and instead of lighting the lamp, he comes and shakes my hand, lifts me from my seat, takes me to the pulpit, pats my shoulder and puts his arm on my shoulder and introduces me to the crowd. And as you were introducing me, he knew right my birthplace to my whatnot, you can imagine. He was just orating about me for more than 10 minutes. I was so excited, I cannot describe. A President of India, that to a person like Abdul Kalam, introducing me to the crowd, that was one of the finest experience.
Praise God.
We both sat in the dais, and there I was reminded, Romans 8:28, all things
Work together
for good
to
to
those.
those who love the Lord.
Amen.
God is never a debtor for anybody. He always has his own way of doing things. The only thing is just hold on, and you will see He's
Amazing.
being lifted up along with you.
Amazing, amazing. Well, dear listeners, don't go anywhere. We are going to listen to a song and come right back to Brother Saji Matthews to hear the end of that story. Let's go and listen to this wonderful Hindi song.
सारी दुनिया तेरी है, सब कुछ तूने रचाया है, सारी दुनिया तेरी है, सब कुछ तूने रचाया तुझे बस शुक्रिया वो क्या दे सकता हूँ क्या ला सकता हूँ कहता तुझे बस शुक्रिया 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 तेरा
Wow, what an amazing testimony and what an amazing journey we have been listening to. And so, for a final question for today, Uncle, we are so glad to hear your adventure of a Christian life that God has been leading you with and the vision that you have from God. And we truly, truly wish, along with the listeners, that we had some time, some more time to speak with you. But before we wrap up, if you had some final words to share with our listeners tonight, what would that be? And we have a lot of Hindi listeners tuning in as well. So you have the full freedom to speak in Hindi as well, Uncle.
क्या दे सकता हूँ शुक्रिया के सिवाय. This is what I would love to tell, because हमारे जिंदगी में हम लोगों के पास देने के लिए कुछ नहीं है. परमेश्वर ने हमारे लिए इतने अद्भुत काम किए हैं, इतनी सुंदर तरीके से हमें चलाया है कि हम क्या दे सकते हैं सिवाय शुक्रिया के. I wanted to just say one thing. As Bob was introducing me, he came up with a quotation of Robert Schuller: "Tough time never lasts, but tough people do." When you read in the Bible, I get amazed of seeing the people, those whom God had used. They all were very ordinary people. Look at Daniel, look at Joseph, look at David. They all were very ordinary guys struggling in their day-to-day affairs. लेकिन होता क्या है कि हम लोगों में और उनमें डिफरेंस ये रहा कि वो परिस्थितियों में भी, in the circumstances which seemed tough, they held on God. They were calm, they were composed, and they allowed that tough time to just pass through. और जब उनकी जिंदगी का टफ टाइम निकल गया, God just used them, and God lifted them up. And in David's case, you see he's called the man after God's heart, right? You see in the Daniel's case, he was given such an amazing talent. He was the prime minister for almost 5 to 6 kings. Can you imagine? We need the bureaucrats, we need the sports person, we need the businessman, we need the politicians, we need the cricketers. We need the influential people as a believer in our nation. So this is something I would love to say. You may come across with problems, with struggles, with difficulties, with distresses in your life. परेशानियां हमारी जिंदगी में आ सकती है, but remember, so you also get an opportunity to just hang on God. God is always available. Just hold Him, embrace Him, walk with Him, and He will do wonders in our life. अपनी जिंदगी को आप उसके हाथ में देखें तो देखिए, वह सचमुच बहुत 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 अच्छा है. He is so good. Just taste and see. He's worth loving. He's worth following. Depend on Him. Love Him.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Brother Saji Matthews. Well, David, just like you and just like our listeners, I'm sure there are many of you who really want to keep listening to Saji Matthews and hear more from him. So we are going to have a series. Well, dear listeners, please do join us next week on our Tuesdays, on our Transformational Tuesdays, which is the 14th of September. And we will be having the second part of this talk, which is titled From a Hopeless End to Endless Hope. So please do tune in on 14th September to listen to our lovely and wonderful brother Saji Matthews, to hear more from his life and what God is doing through him. Brother Saji Matthews, from the bottom of our hearts and all of our listeners on Bob's Radio, thank you so much for coming on air today.
Thank you so much.
Well, dear listeners, it was such a joy to have all of you with me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do join us tomorrow on our Wellness Wednesday, where once again we have a wonderful guest joining us. Indeed, along with RJ David, this is RJ Bob signing out. Good night, goodbye, and God be with you.